Hey y'all, my name is Mel, and this project is meaningful to me because it's a platform we created for women to freely express themselves and be the loud and proud, confident women that they're entitled to be.
Hey, I'm Vicky, and just like Mel, I've been in and witnessed too many situations where I felt prejudged and misunderstood, or even worse, was provoked and later on was labeled as crazy for loving myself enough to stand up for me.
Honestly, if I had $1 for each time I've been called crazy or too much, simply for standing up for myself or asking questions when things didn't add up, I'd be on an island I bought with that money right now. And I almost started to believe it, that it was me. But then I realized over time that my voice was my power. And through my story and through this podcast, I hope to inspire women from all walks of life to find their courage and speak up.
I'm beyond over being told to take it, and I wanted to be the voice for the ladies who aren't quite ready to roar just yet.
Women aren't to be placed in a box. We come from different backgrounds and have different journeys, and that's pretty much how we become ourselves and find our purpose. So a man has no place telling us how to be, neither does society. I really hope women listen to this podcast and feel heard and realize there's nothing wrong with a little crazy as long as it means you're freely expressing yourself.
This podcast will touch on all things woman. Let's get crazy. What's up, crazy bitches? Welcome back to the factory. Today we have a treat for our season closer. We have one of my favorite people in the world. I've known him since high school. Jamie, he's here today with us on the panel. He is going to be dropping his own podcast in 2021 called My Depression Said What It Said. That shit is deep. So I'm going to let Jamie go ahead and talk about what his podcast is about, what you can expect. Go on ahead, Jamie, you have the floor.
First of all, thank you so much, Vicky. Woo!
Woo!
Hearing you say the name of my podcast is like creepy. I'm like, oh my God, it's a real thing. That's what it's called. My Depression Said What It Said. I named it that because I'm starting the process of looking at myself as separate from my depression, as not always associating myself with being depressed. So I'm trying to kind of separate the two. So I was like, that sometimes my depression says stuff that's not me. That's that depression. And ultimately I wanted to just I wanted to challenge myself, honestly, to open up, which is something that I don't do. I'm learning how to do that. And I thought this is a very bold way to challenge myself to do that while using some of the skills that I already have and just create a space where I can talk about my depression as a Black gay man, and just allow myself and go through the process of healing. I'm still depressed, so I don't have it's not really like tips or tricks. It's really just, I'm going through this in real time. These are my feelings. And every episode I talk about depression in relation to a different topic. So
nice.
Like, there's going to be depression and motivation is the first episode. Depression and racism is another episode, where I talk about my experiences with racism and how that contributed or affected my depression. So I go through a bunch of topics and I just rant.
Like we do here.
That's great. That sounds beautiful.
Right.
I'll definitely be tuning in for sure.
Absolutely. Yes. So yeah, I think that having Jamie on tonight was perfect because ironically, we are talking about something very similar. I'll let Mel go ahead and talk about that.
Yes, just to segue into what Jamie was saying, this episode is particularly, we'll be touching base on depression and how this year has been heavy for a lot of people. just mental illness in general, whether it's depression, anxiety, PTSD. You know, a lot of people have lost people this year. And it's right around the holidays right now. And, you know, a lot of people may not be too jolly this year either. So we definitely want to touch base on that. Hopefully, some of our listeners will be able to relate and know that, you know, they're not alone going through that. I love that we have Jamie here and that he has his podcast because I have to listen because I also deal with, there's days where like, what I feel about depression is days where like I don't even know myself. I just feel bland.
Yeah.
I just feel like just I don't want to talk. I just feel like, you know, a
Yeah.
blank piece of paper, you know, and I wouldn't even begin to know which colors to use to paint an image on that piece of paper. Like I'm just bland. So I'm appreciative of the fact that you decided to come and join us today. And I'm looking forward to listening to your podcast.
Touching base on that, I think that at this point in the year, we've kind of adapted for the most part to this new normal. But like I feel like it happened so overnight that we're not really adapted. I feel like physically we're all kind of taking all the steps, like, okay, wash my hands, sanitize, wear the mask. But we're not all taking the second to realize how crazy it is in every aspect, like to the point where when I watch TV and there's like a club scene that comes on and like I see how close people are, like people touching,
Yes.
like, I'm
Yeah.
just like, ah, it gives me
I'm like, they're not wearing
anxiety.
masks.
Oh my
It's
God.
cringe.
I'm,
Yeah.
aren't you just like, oh my God, this is definitely before the Rona. Like
Right.
it's left such an anxiety. And like, just like you guys, I deal with depression and anxiety. And I feel like those two things play hand in hand. And if there was ever something to give you anxiety, boy, was it the year 2020. It
Ooh,
was, it was intense. And I feel like now it's the holidays. And I know a lot of people, especially parents, feel pressured to, upkeep this, not, I won't say facade, but like this, season
it
holidays.
is a facade though. It is.
And it's like I literally watched something on the news the other day that said that Santa Claus was declared an essential worker, which is
Oh
cute
my
for the
God.
kids, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, how do you pretend that this year isn't happening long enough to have the holidays? Like, how do you do that? Like, I feel like people are completely ignoring reality. And I just like,
Right.
for me, the holidays are always very heavy. So I can't imagine how this year is not heavy for most people, especially when we're by law not even supposed to be with our family, you know?
Right.
So
People
Jamie,
who have family out of state. Hmm.
I was gonna ask Jamie, like, what is your opinion on how people are moving this holiday season? Do you feel like some people are using the holidays to like kind of like block out the rest of the year, or do you feel like some people are just kind of like used to what has become of 2020? And how do you feel, how do you feel in general people are feeling about the coming year as far as anxiety and like a person who deals with depression?
Mhm. Yeah, it's tough because you want to, yeah, like reality right now sucks. Like it's hard for a lot of people, like to be blunt. And then you have, the holiday, it's like the weird opposite because it's joy and it's festive and it's sort of all those things. And um, I think for a lot of people, I think underneath that joy and that cheer, as you're saying, there is the holidays are also sort of a sad period because it's about bonding and being together.
Hmm.
And if you a lot, and specifically now, especially because a lot of us don't have that bonding, but I think even before also there's sort of um a, yeah, if there a bit of if you don't have that love in your life or whatever bond or connection, I think it can feel a bit hollow.
Yes.
Yeah.
um for me, I would say first, I personally, I do look it is a period that I look forward to just because some of my purest childhood memories are from the holidays for me. um so I still cling on to that part of my childhood, I think, a little bit. But yeah, definitely over the years, it's been tough. This year, especially, is tough. But I don't know. For me, I would say it's as someone who's gone through depression, and I've been very depressed at during the holiday period.
Mm.
Um, it feels similar to me. I can't say it feels that new to me. I remember specifically, like even with family dinners, I always felt really, it made me extra depressed because I felt at a lot of times I felt like I couldn't be who I wanted to be at these functions. I felt like also sometimes, even though I like the holiday period, it is about joy and that sort of excess festive feeling. So if you don't have that, if you're feeling the opposite, then it just reinforces how other you are, how different you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot this holiday period.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I hope people are able to find some sort of light in it. I think there's seems to be a lot of excitement towards next year, the vaccine. Like people are, if we're talking specifically for COVID, I
Mm.
don't know. Depends who you are, I guess.
You know, it's
Nope.
funny that Jamie said something that really resonated with me just now. You said sometimes family gatherings would make you more depressed.
Right.
And that is such a like, I just want to like give you two jazz snaps because that it just is so facts. And I think that,
Yeah.
there is, if you are a person who lives alone, you do have the option to go and visit a household of your choosing. And I do feel like, especially this year, you're not obligated for that place to be your family,
Mhm.
especially if they don't make you
Mm-hmm.
feel like your best self. I will never tell
Mm-hmm.
anybody, like, everybody has their moments where they rant about their family and they hate everybody and like, you know what I mean? And it's like, I always tell my friends, at the end of the day, that's your family, and you know that deep in your heart, you still love them. But at the same time, especially this year specifically, if you're gonna choose to like get cute and leave your house and go see anybody in particular, make it someone who's actually you guys are gonna enjoy each other's time, and you're really gonna feel some kind of happiness in that moment, because it is true that depending on, you know, what kind of family you have, sometimes being around your family all at once, it can be very overwhelming, especially like you said, if you're someone who kind of does your own thing, or you're a little bit your own person and you don't really follow the trend of your family, then you can feel very like isolated. And to me, I think one of the most depressing feelings is to be quote unquote alone in a room full of people.
Hmm.
That is like one of the most depressing things in the world. And I know that Melissa has spoken on this before. Even recently, I did like just certain things that Mel and I have been talking about in our private conversations. It has come up that like environment is very, very important to your mental health. And
Mm-hmm.
the people that you're around are very, very important to your mental health. And Mel, we have been having those conversations. So I feel like you could definitely
Almost every day.
speak to this.
Almost every day. No, yes, we have been having those conversations. I I'm the kind of person I would rather be like I'd rather be alone than be in a room full of people that just don't make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The second that I feel like there's no love, there's no, you know what I mean? There's no warmth. There's it, like I don't get that warm feeling. I'd rather just feel that by myself,
Right.
and having to deal with that with people around, it just makes me feel more depressed. Like it for whatever reason that it is, I can be in a room full of people, everybody's having a great time, and I'm having anxiety. I'm like, when does this end? When do I get to just curl up in the ball and just be by myself because I'm uncomfortable? You know what I mean? So especially now being the holidays, I just did this year. I don't have it. It takes up, people don't realize how much energy it takes to be social, how much energy it takes just to have a conversation with someone. Like I have some friends who will be like, hey, I haven't heard from you, like I was beginning to wonder where you went. And it's like I don't even see the days go by sometimes. I'm just stuck in this rut of darkness, you know? So I understand what anyone with depression and anxiety is going through, especially being that this year is so dark. And it's just every time you turn on your TV or you get online, it's just like either somebody got shot by the police or, you know, the death toll is increasing as far as COVID. The numbers are increasing as far as people catching COVID, and it's just negative, and it's just everything is just negative. Everything is just negative, and so it just kind of drowns you. You're just drowning in this pool of darkness. Like I can't really explain it any other kind of way, but the environment when you're sometimes I'm happy when I'm just by myself. You
Mhm.
know, it's that's my little bit of light. Like if I can find something that I like on TV and I can just concentrate on that, then I'll be, you know, I'll be happy with just, you know what I mean? My light is like if I can get a glass of wine or like, you know, like
Mhm.
little things or like little things. But it's like if I were to be in over the holidays, if I were to be in a room full of people that just don't make me happy or that just I know just don't express genuine love for me and who I am as a person and know my heart, that definitely just sucks the energy out of me. It just like it just makes me it's I you just become like it's like you're just sucked completely dry of all your color and
Mhm.
all your light. It's just you just become bland. Like boiled chicken with no seasoning, like just literally just that. So especially with a year like this.
Yeah, I do feel like when you're like for me, I always compare my dark times, my because my depression isn't so much a daily struggle as it is a I like to call it episodes. So I have episodes of
Hmm.
depression where I'll be really, really good for months and months, weeks and weeks to go by, and then all of a sudden I'll be depressed. And it's like it doesn't happen overnight. I can feel it. I like when Mel and I used to live together, I would tell her, Mel, I feel myself fighting a depression. And eventually it hits and you're in this dark space. And everybody who's been through depression describes their dark space differently. I love sunlight. I love the way the sun feels on my skin. I just love everything about the sun. And I describe depression as there being no sun. It feels like you're underneath a dark, wet blanket, and it's like you can kind of see the sun and you're trying to remove this blanket, but it's like every blanket you take off your head, there's another blanket, and it's just
Yeah.
not getting no brighter. You're not getting any closer to the sun. It feels like you're buried under sand. You can see the sun shining far away, and it's like you're trying to climb up out of the sand, but you can't. It just feels like that. And it's like, I feel like if I had advice to give, it would be to no matter what, hold on to that glimpse of sun that you see underneath all those wet blankets. Because what I've
Hmm.
learned in my own journey with my depression, because I go through episodes, I've learned that there is another side of it. There is a brighter side of it. And even though the brighter side doesn't always last as long as the darker side, you have to work towards that brighter side as opposed to being like, oh, I'm depressed. And it's that's the
Right.
first step, is to acknowledge that you're depressed. But once I acknowledge that I'm depressed, I like to try my best, and it's not always easy and it doesn't always work in the time frame that I would like to give myself. But I try my best to look towards that light that I know is there, that I know has been there in the past when I've been in my episodes. But again, it's not always easy. And I feel like I always say this, I've been blessed with the ability to pick my friends very well. Like any friends that I still have to this day are amazing people. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I've known Jamie since I was like 12 or 13 when I met him. And to this day, like I still consider him one of my favorite people I've ever met in my life. Like I just adore him. And that's how I feel about most of the people that are in my life right now. So I kind of do have a strong support system when I have those dark days. I know that there's always someone that I can reach out to who's going to give me an ear. If you don't have that, I suggest you actually find actual help, like someone who,
That's and the support system is really important.
yeah, like
Yeah.
after you start seeking help, maybe you can there, I find that there are a lot of people who underestimate the value in a support group. And some people who don't have like friends that they feel will listen, I would say seek out a support group, because if you don't want to go sit in front of a shrink or a doctor and speak to them one on one, a support group could be another really great way to meet other people who identify with what you're going through, who can uplift you and share their journeys with you. And so, Jamie, you were just saying that a support system is really important. Do you feel like you would be, how would I say, do you feel like you wouldn't be as far along in your journey with your depression if you didn't have the support? Because I know that you have really, 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 really
Yeah.
good people in your life. One person in particular I'm thinking about that's making me laugh, who adores you. And do you feel like if you didn't have people like him, um, and like in your life, that you would be a little bit behind in your journey as far as dealing with your depression?
Yeah, he's gonna listen to this and get a big ego out of
Oh,
this.
hey Tyron, what's up? I wasn't gonna say his name, but now I know he's gonna watch. So hey Tyron, how you doing? Shout outs to you.
Um, no, yeah, that's actually a really great question. And going back just a little bit, I also want to say what I've learned is I've learned to forgive myself when I'm going through an episode, when I'm depressed as well. Like, just it's also okay to feel that and to go
Right.
through those emotions, which that's something new that I've really been doing this year, is just allowing myself to go through that, to feel those feelings. What I do is I feel bad when, like, I feel like I failed when I go back into a depression. I feel
Mhm.
like I've done something wrong. Why can't I just get it right? So I've just learned to also accept that as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, I really don't think I would be actually as far along if I didn't start opening up. And what got me to that point is I always, when I get frustrated, I get to a point where I'm like, okay, this is what I've been doing. Let me just try something else. Like, let me just try the other side of it. And I felt like for so many years I had not been opening up, and I have, a lot of people in my life would describe me as secretive,
Mhm.
and as I really didn't open up, and I just got to a point where it was just frustrating, and I could see how all of my own feelings were tearing me apart from the inside, really. So I was like, okay, let me just try this and see what this feels like. And I'm
Mhm.
still getting used to it. It still feels uncomfortable. It's
Right.
still, um, but over time, um, even, and like I said, I didn't think that this would help. I didn't think that opening up to people or finding a confidant would help. But it really did. So I really would I'm sticking with it. I'm seeing, the benefits here and there. So I'll stick with it, but it has brought me further along, because sharing, you get to, it doesn't take off all the weight off of you, but it does alleviate at least a little bit of it.
Mhm.
It does, just, there's power in saying things out loud, really. So
Yep.
just that idea of sharing it, it does start to alleviate very slowly, of course, but it has helped me along in my journey.
Oh, that's good. It's very true. I feel for me, it's like, other than my friends, like Vicky, for example, who, like, I have several panic attacks on every other day. It's my kids. Like, for example, I'm a person who struggles with anxiety. Like, I'm always thinking about the worst case scenario all the time for no reason. Like, I'll wake up and I'll have to be somewhere, and I'm like, there's no way I'm just gonna wake up and get there, and I'm not gonna get hit by a car, and like my children's school is not gonna call me and tell me that they choked on something. Like, I'm so OCD about everything, with my kids. It's just like, if my son sneezes, I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? Did you, so this year, worst case scenario actually happened. My father passed away. So I was just like, oh, so I was like, oh, so this is just, so bad things do happen,
Mm.
bad things really do happen. And it was in the midst of COVID happening. It was in the midst of Black men getting killed in the hand of police officers. It was in the midst of all of that. And what gave me the strength to get up and fake it every day was my kids, because they need a mom, you know what I mean? Like it's not their fault that all these things are happening. And that kind of just gave me the strength to keep going, because there's many times where I was just like, I was so overwhelmed with like just anxiety, just thinking like, who's next, what's going to happen with, what else is going to happen, what else is going to happen, that it was so hard for me to navigate through life. Just simple things like going to the store and just hearing noise, I was just like freaking out. I'd freak out about almost everything. Every morning I'd wake up, I'd have an episode, and then I would do it before my kids woke up. And then, once they woke up, I would just, okay, what do you want for breakfast? But really what I wanted to do was just lay there. But, over time, having to take care of them, like the faking kind of became like, okay, well, yeah, reality. It just kind of became like, I'm like, the more days went by, the more I started to feel a little bit better. Now, obviously, it's back simply because I did have an environmental change as far as like my living situation and just like how my life is going, how my bank account is looking, things like that. Always affect that. I'm easily not so easily triggered, but I can be easily triggered, especially around this time of year. So people like having Vicky that I can just hit up at any moment, like, girl, today's not the day. Like, today is not a day. And she's like, girl, you know who you are, you know what you're doing with your life, it's just a temporary moment, blah, blah, blah. And just like kind of uplifting me. It gives me the boost that I need. It's like a fuel. Those people are like your fuel. It's like when you're running on E, you got to have those people to kind of just, fill you back up.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I will say that um I think like with Jamie, I think without even knowing it, when I was in high school, I was going through so much like in my home life that I think I was already depressed and I didn't know it. And I used to come to school like with this, like, have you ever seen, well, it's not the same thing because that's a dust cloud. So we're not going to compare myself to the Charlie Brown kid. But have you ever seen like a cartoon with like a dark cloud above their head? I'm sorry, I was going to say the Charlie
She
Brown.
said a dust cloud.
Oh, like, that kid in Charlie Brown. But then I realized that's not a dark cloud, it's a dust cloud. And I'm not dusty. So we're not going to go there. But have you ever seen a cartoon with like, the just thunderstorm over a person's head? Like
Yeah.
that's how I would come to school. And I swear to God, I always say that without Jamie, I would not have graduated high school, and that's a fact. Like he pushed me to graduate high school, and had I not had this person so early on in my life to push me and be my better self, I would not have. I wouldn't. I don't know if I would have my diploma today. Like I really can honestly truly say that because he was a person that I can come to school on 100 upset, and like all day long he would have me laughing to the point where my ribs felt like they were going to break in half. Like he was just such a great person to have around. And I think that I say this to say that something important about depression is that everybody needs to check on everybody, because where I failed as a friend, I can honestly say, is that I didn't realize that someone as strong and as vibrant and as supportive as Jamie could be going through what he was going through. And for a while in our friendship, I will say that I dropped the ball in a sense where I wasn't checking on him, because to me that was my strong friend. I was like, oh, he's okay. Not like in a sense of like forget Jamie, but
Those are the
just kind
ones
of
you need
like,
to check on.
exactly. I always saw him as such a strong like person that I looked up to, that it never dawned on me that he's being different because you're being a shit friend, because you're not thinking about perhaps for once he needs you, as opposed to you constantly needing him. And I feel like that taught me a lesson, because even with Melissa, I say this all the time, she's one of the strongest. I have watched her literally lift two children and groceries up the stairs by herself. She's one of the strongest people I know aside from my own mother. And I don't know if anybody knows any Aries people, but these two right here are two Aries people, and they're some of the strongest personalities you'll ever meet.
Yeah, you know how we do.
Like, and I'm not just saying this because y'all are my like close friends. I really mean this. Like all of my close friends, as you guys know, are either Geminis or Aries. And I just appreciate a strong personality because I'm a strong personality. And both of these people are people who in my journey when I've dropped the ball, as my friends, they have not been afraid to be like, hey, hello, you're fucking up. And because I don't want to put you in the garbage, I have to tell you that you're fucking up. So, my advice I would say to a person who maybe doesn't even deal with depression, look out for changes in your friends, look out for things that are outside of their character, and don't take it personal. Don't take it as a like, oh, you're not there for me anymore, or you're not happy for
Mhm.
me, or you don't care about what's going on in my life, or take it as they're going through something and maybe they need me to be there for them. And
Mhm.
always, 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 always check on your strong friends, because your strong friends have their problems too. And just because they're strong enough to like guide you through your shit and make you laugh all day for 8 hours doesn't mean that they are not also underneath their own dark cloud. It just means that they're doing a better job at not projecting it. So I that's one thing I say I always learned from my friendships, and I've learned from both of these friendships that you really do have to be mindful when you are the person on the receiving end of the advice and the uplifting. You have to give that back. You definitely have to give that back. And I feel like in my adult life I've been trying to do a better job of giving back the love that I receive, because it's important. And I feel like it can really help a person's depression to know that they have at least one person who gives them the same energy that they give out. And I have to say that, how can I put it? Had it not been for the friendships that I have, especially like I said, Jamie in high school, and now Melissa being my best friend as my in my adult life, and even other people like Emma, and like I have a lot of friends that like I absolutely adore who have helped me throughout the long along the way. I wouldn't be the person I am now. I would still be stuck in this like ratchet, loud, just angry, ready to fight the world teenage mindset. And I have to thank my good friends for uplifting me and seeing more in me than just that and uplifting me out of that. And I think that that's very important. When you're depressed, you absolutely need, even if it's just the old lady that you sit next to on Sundays in the church, you need somebody who's going to remind you that though you feel like a bag of wet trash today, you're not in fact a bag of wet trash, and you don't have to feel like that. And I think that that's really, really important. And I wanted to take this moment to say that, to thank both of you for helping me grow into and continue to grow into the person that I'm growing into, because I was a hot emotional mess.
But you
I
were,
li- I Go ahead,
I
Jamie.
was just
Sorry.
going to say, you were also going through a lot, you were really
Right.
unpacking all of that trauma. So,
Mhm.
I think, yeah, that was part of your journey.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, definitely. I know for me, it's still really hard for me to ask for help.
Mhm.
To it's it feels like it feels like the hardest thing in the world for me,
Like pulling teeth.
to have to ask for help. Like it makes me cringe. Isn't that weird? Like it's
Oh.
like something
No,
that
like,
No, I feel you.
like irks me. So yeah, definitely I'm grateful to have had people who have, been able to, yeah, like you're saying, it's important to check on your friends.
mhm.
And it's hard to do that too. I know I struggle with that now in my adult life, where I feel like I'm going through so much shit. Like I don't know if I'm the best person or if I'm capable enough to help someone else.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, I know, like I still go through with it, but it's yeah, it's challenging on both ends for sure.
Takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Right.
Takes a lot of energy. It's
Mhm.
like I can only keep up with about maybe one or two friendships at the moment. Like I, usually I'm like social, like I'm super social. I have like maybe like 15 healthy friendships, like I'm just social. I'm always checking on people. I have a main best friend, and then I have like a bunch of other people that I'm just like, hey, what's up? Remembering things, remembering their children's birthdays, remembering. And I found myself not being able to do that. And for a little while, I felt kind of guilty or bad about it. But
Right.
now, you know what I mean? Like, I felt guilty because I was like, oh, I'm so used to being there for people. But like right now, I just don't have it. And I had to get to the point where I accept that. And the only people who are allowed in my life are the people who understand that,
Mhm.
who love me enough to be like, it's okay when you're ready, even if it takes a year or two, or you know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm here for you. If you want to chat, I'm here to chat. If you don't want to chat, I know you have love for me because you have always been a consistent friend. But I know this year is not your year. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate those are the this year. Those are the people that I really appreciated. There's people that I don't talk to anymore that have been my friend for years that I don't talk to. I sleep like a baby over it. Because it's not that I don't have that burden of like, oh, if I'm, if I'm not the friend that I'm always being to this person, that they're not gonna. No, I'm still that person, but right now I'm healing. I'm wounded. So friends like Vicky, who know, like she was there in the midst of me losing my dad, like in the midst of grief, where I have to say I was one of the like I was the nastiest person this year that I've ever been, and it's only the people who truly care and love me for who I am who are still standing, you know what I mean, and who will get to benefit from, hopefully the better person that I become after overcoming such a horrifying moment in my life. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. I will say that this year pushed me to want to do more, because I think my problem is that I like to call, I'm a social introvert. So it's like
Mm.
there's an entertainer side to me, and then there's a side to me that's like night and day. So it's like I'm an entertainer by personality, by I was just born this way. Like I'm just that's just always what I've wanted to do is entertain. But on the flip side of that, I also love my space and my I'm a crab. I love my shell. That's it's a fact. So I feel like I have a it's kind of like I have an open door policy, but I expect people to know that. Like people can't read my mind, and that's a problem that I have. I have an open door policy in the sense where if you reach out to me, if you call me, if you hit me up, I will never not take your call. But sometimes I feel like I don't realize that, like Jamie was saying, some people really have a hard time asking for help, and I can be one of those people too. So having an open door policy is great, but I feel like as a friend, I'm actively trying to do more to reach out to the people that I love and to really like connect with them. And, like even with my parents, I've recently been rekindling um, my relationship on a whole different level. And I've been really trying to bond and connect with, my family and like friends that I may have like not purposely, but just being wrapped up in my own, like Jamie, on wrapped up in your own shit. Relationships fall off and certain things weaken. And it's like if there was ever any real bond or connection or love there, it can be rekindled. I just think that it takes sometimes to be the bigger person and swallow that pill and be like, I want that relationship and I'm gonna work for that relationship. And I feel like we live in this time where it's like if you admit that you miss a person in any way, then you're a punk ass bitch. And it's like, no, I'm a human being with feelings and emotions. And this was a person who I was very fond of and I miss them. And I, I feel like I can humble myself enough to admit that I miss them. And perhaps what do you have to lose other than maybe rekindling a friendship? And if that person's completely over your shit, then and you move on to something else. And I feel like that can also be very healing because part of depression is overthinking and just thinking and because you're in a dark space, none of your thoughts make any sense. Like it's always the darkest, like it's always like one plus one equals like one plus one equals -2. I know it, like it's all it's always it's always that. And I feel like when you're depressed, that one person that you think never wants to hear from you again, unless you're sure that they never want to hear from you again. Like that one person that you think, it's like, oh, they're salty or they're mad at me or blah, blah, blah. If it would make you feel good to know or make you feel better to know where your relationship stands with this person, there's nothing wrong with reaching out and being like, hey, what's up with you? And if the person, like I said, if they fuck with it, it could help. And if they don't, it could also help because it will allow you to have closure and it will allow you to be one less thing off of the list of things to overthink about. So I think that reaching out as well, not just for help, but also for repairing of relationships. Because as Jamie said, when you're depressed, you're not yourself. And that's why I love the name of your podcast, which again, shameless promotion. My depression said what it said. I love that because when you're depressed, you're nasty. You're just like, and not on purpose, but sometimes you're nasty. Like I'm nasty when I'm depressed, and I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the main time that I'll say some of the most nasty things when I'm
Despicable
upset.
things. Yep.
And then when you're calm or when you're no longer mad, you're just like, holy, what was I going through? So I feel like
Yeah.
part of healing from your depression is reaching out and rekindling those bridges that you may have burnt, whether they're repairable or not, because closure is also very important for your mental state of mind.
I was literally struggling with, there's been someone I've wanted to reach out to for like a few years now.
Oh, wow. I would convince you to do it because like my fiance was actually going through this recently a couple months ago where he was like going through a slight depression about a friend that he used to have, and he kept saying to me like, I just want to reach out to him and see what I did, for our friendship to fall apart the way it did. And at first I didn't think it was a good idea, but seeing the way, like seeing what it meant to him, the friendship, and seeing how it was affecting him, I convinced him, see if you can, either talk to him or talk to someone who can talk to him and see if he'd be willing to open up to them. And long story short, he ended up, finding out what the person's problem was, and it wasn't anything that was valid, and quite honestly sounded like the person was hating. And since then, I haven't heard him talk about this friend. He hasn't brought it up. He hasn't been upset about it. He hasn't, dwelled on it because now he knows. Now he knows that it's like, okay, this is what the reason was. Our friendship is dead, and I can let it go. So seeing how it helped him, just having the closure, not even so much the relationship, I think that it would be a good idea if if the person is constantly on your mind and they're constantly, it's something that's reoccurring, I would definitely convince you to go ahead and reach out because you don't have anything to lose if you're already not talking to that person right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think that we should do our hopes and dreams for the next year. And I've talked for like 15
Mm.
minutes in the monologue, so I'll let both of you go before I go.
No, it's I look, if sometimes, there's certain episodes where we come in and I'm the one who's just like super like angry, like renting the majority. And then sometimes you're speaking from your heart, and that's what we want. It's not scripted. It's just a conversation amongst people. So if you have a lot to say, good, you're speaking from the heart. You may touch somebody out there with what you have to say. So never say that.
Mhm.
You can talk for the rest of the episode if you want to. No, but for me, my hopes, it's hard for me to have hope right now. It really is. I feel like the second I have hope, or the second I get happy, or the second I start something is just gonna, something's gonna go wrong. And it's, and then I'm gonna be devastated, and I'm gonna reach a whole new level, like, like level 4 of like depression, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, so I'm at a point where I'm like tippy-toeing through life. I don't want to argue with anybody. I don't want, like, I don't want to start any, I don't want to be around too much. I don't want to say too much. I just want to just be in this bubble. And if I wake up tomorrow, great, thank you, God, and let's hope that I make it to the end of the day without any bad news. And that's literally how I live my life. But what I'm hoping for next year is that, like, I'm hoping that things get better. Like, I don't know what else, as plain and as simple as it sounds. I just hope that things get better, whether it's gradually or whether it's just a little glimpse. I just want to see that little glimpse of light, or that'll keep me going on my path and my journey. I'm hoping to, um for the friendships that I lost, to meet new people that may be beneficial for us, for my life and for our lives. Um, my request is very small. I really just want a peace of mind, and I really just want a more enlightenment, and just that joie de vivre, you know what I mean? Like I just want to be like wake up and be excited about something. There you go. Like I just want to wake up and just that passion that you have when you're a kid and you have dreams before you know life is a piece of garbage. I want that. I want that back. I want that spark. I want that passion. I want that love. I want that, you know, that like that enthusiasm. I want that back because right now I'm very bland and I don't like myself to be like this because I'm someone who has a big personality. I, you know, I'm someone who loves going into social situations because I love to entertain. I like to make people laugh. I've always been class clown like since I was in kindergarten. So for me to be the person that's like, okay, I hope no one notices I'm here at 5'10", thick as hell. You know what I mean? Like, I hope no one notices me. You know, like. I hope that you know, I hope I get better. I hope I get out of that. I hope I find my color again. I hope I find my light. So yeah, that's that.
Jamie, what are your hopes for the new year?
I relate to that, Melissa. I'm 6'5" and like,
You know what I'm saying?
and I'm like, oh God, no one noticed me. I realize I walk and I kind of hunch like
Yeah, you do.
unintentionally.
Oh yeah.
I do. And it's really the past few weeks, I started walking like completely straight. And I was like, whoa,
Good.
this feels different. Um, and that leads me to my hopes. I really want to regain some of my self-confidence. You know, a lot of my goals are just like personal things that I want to achieve and that I want to work on. I feel like, yeah, everything in the world is completely unpredictable. This is maybe something I can control my own personal development, or at least
Mhm.
better control it,
Absolutely.
than some other things that are just completely out of my control. So I'm hoping to regain some of my self-confidence, my self-esteem, hoping to, you know, continue to just forgive myself, you know, like really let go of some of these, a lot of experiences that I'm sort of holding on to. And also I hope to, because for me, like in terms of letting go of things, there has to be a sort of resolution for me to whatever it is. Like I can't just, okay, I'm gonna just get over it and move on. Like
Mm,
as long until there isn't a resolution, I can't just move on.
That's
Uh,
an Aries thing, I think.
yeah, I feel like some people can do that a little better, and you know, can sort of turn that page. Not me. I need to. We need to
No.
put that down. Like it needs to be some sort of exchange.
Can I give you a piece of advice for that?
Yeah.
Because that used to be my biggest issue. And I found that it's okay to give your own self, it's called, I like to call it self closure. It's okay to give yourself closure when you feel like you're at a point. Because sometimes talking to a person is so toxic that the closure from that person themselves is not even worth it. It's going to make it worse. So I feel like when you have something that you're just so fixated on and it's like you can't get over it, like I like to write things down and I just make a list of all the things that I can do for myself that would allow this situation to not even matter to me anymore.
Mhm.
And you know, it's a hard exercise to do because I overthink and fixate on everything as well, but it really only takes like 7 days to break a habit or to start a new habit. So if for like 7 days you can put like 7 things on a list and for 7 days you can do something other than think about this person or this problem, then that lets you know that it's not that deep. You know what I mean? And just little tricks and exercises like that have allowed me to be able to provide self closure when I can't get it from a situation or a person. And you know, some a part of self closure is forgiving, you know, yourself if you're in the wrong and the other person if they're in the wrong, because once you forgive a person, there's not a need for their side of the story. It doesn't matter. You forgive them either way. And then you can turn the page. So I think for me, my issue was working on forgiveness. I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No, but that's honestly, I was gonna say in my second half, like it's fine. So finding out, yeah, if I can't resolve that, how else can I move on? You know, like how else can I turn that page? And yeah, there are some, yeah, there are some situations where, you know, I can have that sort of exchange that I want,
Mhm,
and definitely some others where, yeah, it's gonna look a resolution is gonna look differently.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, so those are a lot of my hopes for the year, is really to, to really become the person that I always see myself as. It's like that simple. Like I just want to become that version of myself that I feel and that I see in my mind.
Oh, that's,
Um,
oh my God, yes.
right? Just start
Amen.
that journey,
Amen.
because it
Amen.
starts like it's got to start. So, that's what
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on. And then what was the other part? My
Your hopes and pretty much your requests of the new year.
request. Be easy on us 2021. We've
Yeah, come
been
on.
through, just like slow it down a
Like
little.
chill.
That's it.
Okay, so for
That's
me,
nice.
my hopes for myself this next year is um oh, so many. Well, this year I feel like I did a pretty okay job of not allowing people to get have power over my emotions, and like, certain people can still get under my skin, but that's because those are people I care about. But people that don't really matter that much on my day-to-day basis, I've done an okay job of like not cussing people out in the street this year. So also there hasn't been many people in the street to cuss, so I guess maybe that's why.
Got lucky.
But no, but in all seriousness, I do hope to be able to continue that, because my whole life that's been my issue. I just have a short temper, and I just, anytime I feel disrespected or like just, I guess, disrespected, I tend to go off a little bit, and like that's not who I am. I like to joke around, I like to make jokes. I'm a very happy go lucky kind of person. Like I I love life, and this year has been kind of hard to find a piece of life to love, but at the same time I got engaged this year. So I can't say that the whole thing was horrible, but it was definitely a struggle. Even leading up to being engaged, it was a struggle because being in two different countries, there was like a 6 month span where there was no like physical seeing of each other. So this year was rough. I can say for me personally, it was rough as well, but it could have been much worse. So I do want to be grateful for the things that I have. And I definitely want to continue to work on reaching out and, rebuilding relationships and bonding with those who mattered, who's always mattered, that I kind of pushed away over time. Um, I want to work on not beating myself up so much. I tend to beat myself up when things don't go as planned for me, or when I'm not in a position that I thought or I feel like I should be in. Like Jamie said, there's a person in me who is not living her best life right now, and it's circumstantial, it's financial, it's geographical, it's all kinds of things that play into that, but that doesn't make it any less heavier on your mental. So I do want to work on, not beating myself up so much for not being in a place where I would like to be right now in my life, and appreciate the journey that I'm on right now
Mhm.
that is leading me to that point. Because like you said, it has to happen. And I just want, I guess I want to work on enjoying the scenic route. So as opposed to being like, I'm not there yet. Damn it. How long is this going to take? When's the next connecting flight? What's the fastest way to get there? Is there a red eye? Like, just enjoy the scenic route and enjoy the journey, and, exactly enjoy just enjoy it, because if I had not gone through the rough and tough things I've been through up to now, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't appreciate the blessings that come my way. So I do want to continue to work on enjoying the scenic route of my life journey. Um, and I guess my request for 2021 would be kindness. Like this year, we saw such a lack of empathy and kindness, and just especially being a Black person, being a Black woman. And, I just feel like I seen so much this year that, on top of it being in a pandemic, on top of seeing my best friend's father, who I was very fond of, pass away, on top of, a relocation, on top of recently myself finding out that my godmother passed away from the virus, on top of all other different things that play into this year for me. I think the most hurtful thing was to turn on my phone or my television every day and see how much hate was in the world at a time where people are dying overnight at the hundreds of thousands. There's still space for all of this hate. And I'm just like looking at it like, is this necessary? Especially this year? Like, you don't know if the person that you're yelling at the grocery store just came from their grandmother's funeral. You don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you just, we live, this year has been so uncertain. You just don't know what anybody is going through. So for people to be able to get dressed in the morning and leave their house and spew hate on the magnitude that it's been spewed this year, I honestly pray for peace and kindness in the next year for everybody, because this year's been, it's been tough. It's been tough personally, and honestly, there are several times that I turned on my phone and I watched a story and I was in shambles, crying, just like the Breonna Taylor, that it just rocked my world, because as a Black woman, I instantly felt fear in my heart to know that even in our own homes, a person can come in and attack our families and ourselves, and we're not safe, and there's no justice. And it's like, usually I can watch these things and I can empathize and I feel sadness and I can rah and preach and march. But this year, everything that I saw broke me little by little. And if we could just have a little bit of peace, like a quarter of the amount of hate turned into peace in the next year, it would be so much helpful on, because I literally had to quit social media for like half of this year because it was too much. It was just too much. And in turn, it caused me to have anxiety about posting my own things, my own creative projects on my own pages. So yeah, pretty much just I request from 2021 some kindness, a little bit of love in people's hearts, some empathy, just the basics. Treat people like you would want to be treated. Doesn't matter of
Yep.
their gender, their sexuality, their identification. If that
Mhm.
person identifies as a Black chicken, let that person live. Just
Sorry.
doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't, I just don't understand why hate. You don't have to agree
Yeah.
with, but why hate, you know?
Yeah.
So that's again my 15-minute ramble. And I guess we can close out the show for tonight. I really, really am so happy that Jamie came and joined us this evening. I feel overjoyed that we were able to share our last episode of season one with you. You're
I'm
such a great
honored.
Yes.
addition to the panel. I really hope you come back
Yeah. Such a
and
great addition.
yeah, sit on our panel again. I would love to have you again. And you guys have to check out the podcast. Again, it's called My Depression Said What It Said. It will be dropping in 2021. We will definitely keep you updated and posted on the exact release date. But I'm definitely going to tune in. I know Mel's going to tune in.
I
Um,
will
and
for
we're
sure.
definitely going to, review honestly the show. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for you, Jamie. I think that this is a great journey that you're heading on, and I'm really, really happy for you having come and spent all this time with us this evening.
Thank you both so much.
Yeah.
This was really
No
fun.
problem. Oh, thank you. Yay. I'm really excited that you liked it, and you'll be back. You have no choice.
Yes, please
Part
come
of the
back. Yeah, you don't have a choice. Ple's come back.
family. So
I
once
loved your
again,
input for uh-huh.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mel. My bad.
No, it's okay. I was just saying I loved his input and just like, I learned a lot from what you had to say.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to your podcast and I'm looking forward to you coming in and jumping in. Maybe next time we'll talk about something a little bit more, like
Yeah.
Yeah, of
a
course.
little bit more jolly, but
So yeah, so our producer Kurt just reminded us, it's the holidays. So Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas.
Happy
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 Hanukkah,
holidays. Yes.
Happy
Yeah.
holidays, Happy Kwanzaa for whoever it
This
is.
is our closing episode too. This is episode 10. This is our last episode of the season.
Yes,
So
it is. We didn't mention that it is our last episode of season one. Um, thank you guys so much. Those of you who have been listening from the beginning, thank you so, so very much. It means so much to us. This project is one that it's like our baby. It's one of many that we're going to try to bring to you, but I feel like you guys are going to love what we're going to do in the new year. We have a lot of like fun stuff coming up. I'm not going to say what, obviously, but you guys are just going to have to come back to the Crazy Bitch Factory and find out. As usual, please send us your feedback, questions, any comments, any likes, any hate to our DM at Crazy Bitch Factory Inc. on Instagram. We're on Twitter, TikTok. You can catch the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, and many other platforms. I think that's it, guys. I really want to wish you guys a happy holiday season and a happy end of the year. Season's greetings and prosperity to you all. Thank you so much for coming to the Crazy Bitch Factory for season 1. We'll see you back in the new year. Bye.
Happy New Year. Closing the factory down.